Hi everyone! We've got the hottest topic,
the hottest trend,
and the hottest mind.
Hi, my name is Zurin.
I am Surah.
And Zat is here.
Welcome to
the ZSZ
Talkshow.
For today, in our fourth episode, we promise to bring you the hottest topic among future teachers nowadays, which is leadership and management in schools.
It has been quite a talk among future teachers about this topic.
It is also all over the internet and has been in the top 3 search ranking on EDU630.
Which is why we are here to talk and discuss about it in our studio today.
Surah, tell them the good news.
Yes, tell them.
Yes, of course. For today's episode, we are virtually inviting 3 special guests into our studio who, wait for it in our upcoming slot. So, as for our topic for today, which is leadership and management in schools, I would like to ask you, Zurin, have you ever heard of educational leadership?
Of course I have heard it, Surah. What about it?
Can you tell us and the watchers what does it mean?
Sure. So educational leadership is actually working and striving to create a positive change in educational policies and processes on different educational institutions and other areas of concern. So it actually means to go above and beyond educational management or any other administrative task. So to put in simpler words, it means that it is to affect any necessary changes into the education programs and system. That's it.
Oh, short and sweet. Love it. Zati, I am sure you have heard the term educational management, right? What does it refer to?
Well, Surah, educational management is a field of study and practice concerned with the operation of educational organizations. And some tasks involved in educational management are making policies, researching, or consultations on evaluating and developing ways to enrich and enhance the educational system at all levels and areas of concern.
Brief and concise.
Wait. You keep on asking us all of these questions. Do you actually know what both terms meant anyway?
She's
Of course
totally right.
I know. Of course I know. I'm just testing you too.
Really? Then what's the difference between those two?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I know is many articles have been written. Many debates have been done comparing this management and leadership. The same goes with educational leadership and educational management. So, leaders actually set goals and leading the followers to reach the goals. While managers, on the other hand, manage things and individuals inside and around the boundaries that have been set to actually achieve the desired outcomes within these limits. So, briefly said, manager makes the decision while leader facilitates it. In terms of approach, managers is more to plans details around the constraints and the leader sets and leads the directions. Oh yeah, not to forget this one. Manager vision is more to short-term, like today, short-term kind of goals, and leader is more to long-term horizon. That's the thing. Yeah.
Oh, and when we want to talk about culture, a manager would endorse them, but a leader would shape the culture. And a manager would minimize its risk, while the leader would take risks. Not to mention, as manager would make rules, a leader would break them.
Don't forget about how managers, they values results, but leaders, they values achievements. Also, managers, they are more concerned on doing things right, but leaders, they want to do the right thing. You see there? And last but not least, of course, The managers, they want to focus on managing work, while leaders, they want to focus on leading the people.
Yes, and that too. I didn't know we can be this smart.
Well, ladies, that was indeed an informative discussion we had there. So, for our next slot, we will be talking about the most famous three theories related to the topic, which is instructional, transactional, and transformational leadership.
When talking about theories, we do need an expert to explain it to us, right, ladies?
That's right. So now it is the time to bring in our special guest. So our first guest is Miss Hazel Collins, a lecturer from New York. So let's ring her now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We hope you are doing fine in the summer in New York. So regarding the three theories of leadership and management in schools, we would like to ask if you mind to explain to us better about instructional leadership.
Oh, summer is doing great here. I'm loving New York. And yes, I would love to join the discussion for today on the show. Before that, my name is Hazel Collins and I'm a lecturer from New York. But firstly, before we get into the discussion, I would firstly like to say thank you to the host and to the show for inviting me for this discussion. I believe that talk shows, TV programs like this can be a really good platform for one to share their knowledge or information, and that's probably what I'm doing right now, right? Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the discussion. Alright, so according to de Beauvoir from 1984, instructional leadership encompasses those actions that a principal takes or delegates to others to promote growth in student learning. Being an instructional leader, it comprises the tasks such as defining the purpose of schooling, setting school-wide goals such as the school mission, vision, objective. They also provide resources needed for learning to occur. They supervise and evaluate the teachers, the staffs in the school, and they also coordinate the staff development program. Other than that, according to the National Association of Elementary School Principals in the US in 2001, they defined instructional leadership as leading learning communities. Now, you're probably wondering who would play the role of an instructional leader. So according to the provision in RA 9155, Governance of Basic Education Act 2001, they stated that there shall be a school head for all public elementary school or a cluster, and the establishment of integrated schools from existing public elementary and public high schools shall be encouraged. So the school head, who may be assisted by an assistant school head, shall be both an instructional leader and administrative manager, respectively. So the school head can perform a team with the school teachers, learning facilitators for delivery of quality educational programs, projects, and services. So the core of non-teaching staff shall handle schools' administrative, fiscal, and auxiliary services such as, like I said before, setting the school mission, vision, goals, and objective of the school. Sometimes when we go to school, we can see there are signboards of the school missions and visions, right? So those are some of the things that a principal or a headmaster of a school has done. They also do services such as implementing the school curriculum and being accountable for higher learning outcomes. They also are to introduce new innovative methods of instruction to achieve higher learning outcomes. For example, they could embed the use of technology, interactive learning for students in order for them to experience much more better learning, teaching learning experience in school. They also establish schools and community network and encourage the active participation of teachers' organization, non-academic personnel of public schools, and parents-teachers community associations. Now, some of the roles of an instructional leader or a principal is they are to improve teaching and learning in the school, yes, and they are to lead in the setting of the school vision and formulating strategies. They are also the resource provider, but they are not the sole resource provider. A resource provider can also be from a PTA group, which is the Parent Teacher Association. They are also the instructional resource. They are to understand effective practices in curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And they are to promote and participate in teacher learning development. They are also expected to ensure supportive and orderly environment in their own school. Instructional leadership theory has been studied by various researchers. So according to these researchers, they believe that this instructional leadership has significant effects on students' learning, and second only to the effects of the quality of curriculum and teachers' instruction. They also believe that currently administrators and teacher leaders provide most of the leadership in schools, but other potential sources of leadership does also exist. So one should not just hope on an instructional leader. Other than that, researchers have found out that successful school leaders respond productively to challenges and opportunities created by the accountability-oriented policy context in which they work, and also to educating diverse group of students. So yes, I hope that explanation is clear enough for you about instructional leadership theory.
Thank you so much, Miss Hazel. That was indeed a wholesome sharing on the instructional leadership theory. Who knows, a teacher has to be resourceful about this. It is both amazing and difficult work to do.
Oh, talk about difficulty, Miss Hazel. When you were still a teacher, a novice teacher, do you happen to face any difficulties or challenges?
Oh yes, I sure do. I think throughout my early years of being a teacher, I have faced many challenges and issues that I have to deal with, but I think the most challenging of all is establishing a good relationship with students and focus on their learning at the same time. So it has been hard for me, I'm not gonna lie, and I've been working really hard in dealing with it. I ask myself, before I want to deal with it, I need to understand the whole thing, right? So building respectful relationship with students is a challenge, not just for me, and especially for teachers that are new to the profession. So given that our goal is not well-managed students, but rather well-educated students, we need to coach these new teachers in the creation of a learning-centered environment where all students feel a part of the learning community. Since it has been a really big issue among novice teachers, we need to help our prodigies understand that rather than focusing on control and compliance, their time and energy is best spent in designing active and engaging, interesting lessons. Now, why is it necessary in the first place? Developing a good relationship with students is very crucial, as improving students' relationship with teachers has important positive and long-lasting implications for both students' academic and social development. Now, those are the two key words: students' academic and social development. It is known that those students who have close, positive, and supportive relationship with their teachers will attain higher levels of achievement than those students who have more conflict in their relationship. So if we establish good relationship with the students, we will automatically help them in achieving good results in their academic performance. So basically, a good relationship leads to good social connection and hence leads to good student academic achievement. Now, I'm going to give you some of examples of what will happen if a teacher and a student actually have good relationship with each other. First example is a high school student chooses to share the news that he recently got a part in a community play with his teacher because he knows that his teacher will show genuine interest in his success. So what the teacher do in this example is that the teacher showed interest in his personal life, right? So when a teacher does that, a student would not be worried or having the fear of being judged or critically comment on what they do in their life, and they get to share things with them. When they do this, they get to be more closer, hence establishing closer bond between them. Second example is a middle school girl experiences bullying from other students and approaches her social studies teacher to discuss about it because she trusts that teacher will listen and help without making her feel socially inept. This is also important as if we have a good relationship with our students won't be afraid of us, to share things, especially when it comes to issues and conflicts like this, like for example, bullying has been a major problem since forever. So one thing that we could do to tackle this problem is having a good relationship with them, so you could talk to each other, because sometimes at the end of the day, all that everyone needs is someone to listen to, okay, which is exactly what this girl needed. She needed someone to listen to her problem so that she could come up with something with what she had to do to deal with her problem. Now, why is it novice teacher finds difficulties in developing good relationship with students in the first place? This is probably because most commonly it is due to inadequate experience and knowledge cause fears of incompetency and negative decision among novice teachers. So novice teachers feel uncomfortable and they feel plagued by the amount and array of responsibilities that they are expected to fulfill at school. So teachers' problems, particularly those experienced by novice teachers, can be quite stressful. Sometimes this is the reason why teachers that get into the education world quit, So we won't want that, right? Because we want good and valuable teachers to teach our kids, our new generation, to the country, to the world, right? So novice teachers would oftentimes spend their effort more on the practical strategies to implement in the classroom, such as which activities to do, which material, is this good, is this correct? This is what has been got into novice teachers' mind. Now, what can teachers do in order to tackle this problem? What can teachers do to develop and establish good relationship with students and focus on their learning at the same time? What they could do is they could show their pleasure and enjoyment in students. They should interact more with students in a responsive and respectful manner. Okay, maybe a teacher could, do less yelling and screaming and, be much more friendly and warm so that students feel much more belonged to the school, and then they could also offer students help, such as answering questions nicely, offering support. They could also help students reflect on their thinking and learning skills. This is very important. Reflection are expected to done in every after lesson so that they could reflect what they have learned in terms of academic and personal. They should also avoid showing irritability or aggravation towards students. Novice teachers have to try their best not to put personal life into the classroom, because we would want that. That can get really ugly sometimes, okay? All right, novice teachers. And lastly, they should acknowledge the importance of peers in schools by encouraging students to be caring and respectful to one another. This is also very important as it could help in avoiding social conflict, such as bullying, right? Okay. So yeah, that's about it. That's what I have experienced in my early teaching. Now that I have understood the whole thing, I got a really good relationship with my students. Some of them that has already graduated from high school, I still stay in contact with them, so I'm very proud of it and very proud of myself for dealing with that problem.
I see. That is relatable. Thank you so much, Miss Hazel. Till we meet again!
Okay, no problem. Have a nice day, everyone, and thank you for having me here. Bye.
Wow, but after listening to Miss Hazel explaining about the theory, it makes me want to know more about the next one. So let's not waste any other time. We got another special guest with us here today who specializes in the next theory, which is the transactional theory, Miss Maeve Hills, a lecturer majoring in TEFL from Japan. Hi, hello there, Miss Maeve.
Oh, hello, ZSZ. I love your show. How are you guys doing? Genki desu ka?
Genki desu ne. I know a little bit of Japanese language.
Oh wow, Zati, who knew that all that Japanese language you learn from the animes you watch could actually come in handy, huh? So sorry to bother you, Miss Maeve, but there's this theory about transactional leadership. Can you enlighten us more about it?
Yes, of course. So, first of all, transactional leadership is firstly described by Max Weber in 1947, and then it was further developed by Bernard and Bass in 1981. Okay, so transactional leadership is actually a style of leadership in which the leader promotes compliance of his follower through both rewards and punishments, also known as management theories. The term transactional itself refers to a type of leader essentially motivates followers by exchanging rewards for their performance. This mostly happen when the exchange between the leader and the follower takes place to achieve routine goals. Okay, so in educational context, we can say that it is mostly emphasizes the relationship between teacher and student. In this case, it's like students are required to complete projects, assignments, or tests, and if they perform well, they will be awarded good marks or the ability to pass, right? So that is in educational context. So talking about the exchanges between the teachers and the students, the leaders and the followers, it has 4 dimensions of it. The first one would be contingent rewards. In here, the leader or the teacher link the goal to rewards, clarify expectations, provide necessary resources, set mutually agreed goals, and provide various rewards for successful performance. And then the second dimension would be active management by exception. Okay, this one, the leaders usually actively monitor the work of their followers, watch for their deviations from the rules and standards, and taking corrective action to prevent further mistakes. And then the third one would be passive management by exception. This one, the leaders usually intervene only when standards are not met or when the performance is not how do I say this? It's not as per the expectations. They may even use punishment as a response to unacceptable performance. And the last one is called laissez-faire. This one, the leaders actually provides an environment where the followers get many opportunities to make their own decisions. The leaders themselves abdicates responsibilities and avoids making decisions, and therefore the group actually often lacks of directions. Intersectional leadership, it has few assumptions, So one of them is they would say students are motivated by rewards and punishments. Not just that, they say that students, the main goals for the student is to obey the instructions or orders from the teacher leader. And the last one, I think I heard that with this kind of leadership, students are not self-motivated. So, to know more about transactional leadership, we have to know the characteristics of it. So, first of all, this kind of leadership always deals with inefficiency. And it is very, very left brain. Okay, meaning this leadership is on methodical and analytical style. Okay, it is inflexible, it opposed to change, it only focuses on short-term goals, and lastly, it thrives on following rules and doing things correctly. To understand more about the transactional leadership, we have to look at its pros and cons. So the pros of transactional leadership is, the first one would be, it is a clear structured leadership because of its rules bound technique. Okay, and then it achieves short-term goals quickly. Not to forget, rewards and penalties are clearly defined. It is effective for motivating students and eliciting productivity. Okay, and it is also easier to apply in crisis situation. Meaning like in educational context, like tasks and assignment, as the students know exactly what is required of them and how a task should be done. Okay, so let's look at the cons of this kind of leadership. Okay, the first cons is the creativity is limited because the goals and objectives are already set, and also this kind of leadership does not reward personal or emotional initiative. As a conclusion, the transactional leadership is viewed as insufficient but not bad in developing the maximum leadership potential. So yeah, I think that is all about transactional leadership. I think I've mentioned about the pros and cons, the characteristics, the dimensions, and the definitions of it.
That is a great explanation. I'm sure the audience will take note of that. Being an educator is a tough job, so they have to know things like this too. Oh, if I may, Miss May, during your time of still being a novice teacher, do you face any issue or challenge?
Yes, of course I do. When I was still a novice teacher, I've learned that, or I have faced that situation, the expectation of teacher-centeredness in the classroom by the students and also by the parents. I would like to explain a bit about this issue. So in this new and evolving era, learner-centered teaching continues to take hold. The balance of power in classroom is shifting from teachers to students. Not only do students have more power and choices, but they have become more responsible for their own learning. However, in a classroom with a traditional setting of teaching and learning, they would expect everything would be teacher-centered style. Although it has been shifted to the other approach to suit the objective of learning nowadays. According to Thomson, 2013, the ultimate aim of student-centered education is to develop the autonomy of the learner, to foster creativity and problem-solving competencies, and enable lifelong learning, which actually suits the new and advanced world of learning. The students and also the parents of the students expects the teachers to provide the input, while it is actually against nowadays teaching and learning approach, which is the learner-centered approach. However, in learner-centered education or approach, the teacher will still provide the input, but not as fully as before. That is the issue. So, to understand this teacher-centered, student-centered approach, okay, I would like to define them. Teacher-centered approach, it is actually the more traditional or conventional approach, where the teacher functions in the familiar role of presenting information to the students, who are expected to passively receive the knowledge being presented. Okay, but on the other hand, learner-centered approach is when the teacher is still the classroom authority figure, but functions as more of a facilitator, as students embrace a more active and collaborative role in their own learning. For those who is still confused on why learner-centered approach is being used nowadays, it is actually when a classroom operates with student-centered instruction, students and teachers share the focus. Okay, they both share the same focus. And instead of listening to the teacher exclusively, students and teachers interact equally. In my experience, what will I do if I have this problem, right? I would suggest that before you apply this learner-centered approach in your class, make sure to explain the benefits of this approach and how it is a new way of improving the students' learning to the students themselves and also the parents. Also, you have to create activities that involve collaboration and cooperation. Invite students to answer the questions instead of us, the novice teacher, provide it ourselves. We tend to do that. We tend to give them the answers. Okay, and also, yes, let the students evaluate their own or peers' learning progress. Another alternative is to give the autonomy to the students to decide the topics that they want to learn. And lastly, please avoid spoon-feeding them with all resources. Instead, create a task for them, and so that they can find the information by themselves. Let them try and experience on finding the information themselves. So I think that is all about my issues, or I would say challenges, when I was still a novice teacher.
To build an independent student community, we have to emphasize the learner-centered approach. That way, they can learn and experience more.
I know, right? Anyways, thank you so much, Miss May. We would love to hear from you again. See you. Bye.
Bye!
Bye! Oh, sure, no problem. Stay safe, you guys. Bye!
Wow, who knew that the instructional and transactional leadership theory can be a bit mind-boggling, huh? But thanks to Miss Hazel and Miss Maeve, I'm pretty sure we are all now very clear on the two, right, ladies?
Crystal clear.
Right. Now that we're left with the last theory, which is the transformational leadership, let's not waste any more time. I'm pretty sure the next guest is just as stoked as us to share her view in the theory. Our next guest will be Miss Amber Watson from Sheffield, UK. Calling Miss Amber.
Hi guys! I've been watching the show on my phone while waiting, and I'm astounded by how informational the show is. Thank you for inviting me to the show, girls!
We are much more flattered in having you here, Miss Amber. So without further ado, let's get into business. What's your take on the transformational leadership theory, Miss Amber?
Well, transformational leadership was first mentioned in 1973 by Downtown GV in a sociological study. James McGregor also used the term in his book Leadership in 1978, while in 1985, Barnard M. Bass presented a formal theory that also includes the models and factors of the behavior. So, what is transformational leadership? Well, it is a leadership style where one or more persons engage with others in such a way that leaders and followers raise one another to higher levels of motivation and morality. And according to Bass and Riggio in 2006, this style stimulate and inspire their followers to achieve extraordinary outcomes and, in the process, develop their own followers' own leadership capacity. These leaders help followers to grow and develop by responding to followers' individual needs by empowering them and aligning the objectives and goals of the individual followers, the leader, the group, and the larger organization. To make it simple, we need to remember this one goal. It is to inspire followers to share the leader's values and connect with the leader's visions. However, there are many assumptions about this theory. Many thought that people will willingly follow a leader who inspires them, kind of blindly without really considering anything much. Along with the vision and passion of one man can transform their followers, and together they can achieve many things. And how energy and enthusiasm are the tonics that get things done. But all of this assumption is merely on the surface, like how people would only read the title of an article without reading the actual article. There are more than just this about transformational leadership. To understand more, we need to understand the 4 I's of transformational leadership. That is idealized influence, individualized consideration, inspirational motivation, and intellectual stimulation. Okay, let's start with the first I, which is idealized influence. So according to previous assumption, people would willingly follow a leader who inspires them. This is not true because leaders serve as an ideal role model for followers and is admired for this. It's not that people would blindly follow them. As we go through the second point, these leaders are an inspirational motivation to their followers. This is because they have the ability to inspire and motivate followers. The second assumption was that the vision and passion of one man can transform their followers, and together they can achieve many things. Well, this is not entirely false, but it's not like the team will become a one-man team and only centered around the leader. As we can see in the third I, this will allow for individualized consideration. This is not a one-man team because the leader demonstrates a genuine concern for the needs and feelings of followers, which brings out the best effort from each individual. The third assumption of this theory was that energy and enthusiasm are the tonics that get things done. I don't see this as 100% wrong. We do need energy and enthusiasm in anything that we do. However, transformational theory brings it to a different level, where leaders challenges to be innovative and creative. It's not as if all of our energy being poured into this one whole thing, but challenges help the followers to grow more as an individual. Now that we have understand more about transformational leadership, I know everyone must have been curious on how you can become one. It's quite simple, really. There are only 4 steps. First, you need to start with developing a vision, one that is exciting and able to attract potential followers. Then, you need to sell your vision. Always do this. Make this part of your life if you can. This is so that you can build a strong network of high potential individuals. Okay, next, now that you have your vision, it must be clear. You need to have some sort of a roadmap inside your head. You need to have a clear idea about which direction you're going, and you want your followers to move in the same direction as you so that no one is straying. You also need to accept failures because whether you like it or not, it's bound to happen in any sort of way. So don't be too down if this happens to you. Last but not least, always remember that leaders are the one who's leading the charge. They will always be at the forefront during the action. They are always visible and stand up to be counted. The leaders are always there to bolster and infect the followers with commitment and enthusiasm. Like any other theory, transformational leadership theory has its pros and cons. So let's look at the pros first. Transformational leadership theory focuses not only on the leader but also the followers. As we can see, it emphasizes on the followers' needs, values, and morals. Having this type of leader will create an enthusiastic work atmosphere. Not to mention, followers will give much higher output and efficiency. Also, people will work for the leader even if monetary compensation is less because of their good leadership. However, this theory lacks conceptual clarity, and the traits for this leadership are fixed or at malleable state. Not to mention, the people who practice this theory has the potential to be elitist and anti-democratic. Also because this leadership theory totally depends on the leader's ability. And most of the time, the leaders might lack the required characteristics.
Oh, so that's how the three are differentiated. Your explanations on the theory are very enlightening. Now, Miss Ember, you've previously worked as a teacher, right? Would you mind sharing some of the challenges or issues you had to deal with in the school back then?
Ah, the good old days when I was a fresh newbie teacher. I had to deal with students that have behavioral problems. I realized years after that it's not that the students are problematic, it's more towards my classroom management skills. You see, classroom management is the process of ensuring that classroom lessons run smoothly without disruptive behavior from students, compromising the delivery of instruction. And during 2004, a survey found that 85% of teachers believe that new teachers are unprepared for students' behavioral problems in their classroom. And another separate survey found that teachers with 3 years or fewer on the job are more likely to say that student behavior was a problem in their classroom. This is because novice teachers are not used to the classroom environment and they are overwhelmed with the situation as it's totally different from the theory classes that they have partake in university courses. Not many novice teachers realized how important classroom management is until they were faced with a situation. So classroom management creates a set of expectations used in an organized classroom environment, like routines, rules, and consequences. Effective classroom management paves the way for the teacher to engage students in learning. So first, we have effective teaching. With proper strategies, it helps the teacher to create an organized environment that's conducive to teaching, and students would know the expectations in different types of learning situation. Then next, we have efficient use of time. So novice teachers, taking your time before school to create routines and procedures will save time in the long run, because after a few weeks, students would know what to do. So train your students to do their parts each day so that teachers don't have to spend time in giving instructions afterwards. So next is the consistency. So students will know what to expect every day when it comes to the routine activities, because students may fare better when teacher gives them a set of expectations for everyday tasks. And then lastly, we have fewer behavioral problem. This is what we want to hear. With effective classroom management, will give the student little time to misbehave. The expectations for behaviors will give students boundaries as well as consequences. So, what can a novice teacher do to help them? Well, I have a few strategies that I used back when I was one. Set up classroom rules on the first day of class. Get the help of the students on creating the rules together. Also, don't forget to set up rewards and consequences for following and breaking of rules. Next, students also, they thrive on feedback as it can help boosting the morale of the students. So always praise their efforts after they had done something. Third, you need to realize that you as a teacher is a role model. So let the students see what the teacher expects out of them and give them an opportunity to practice them. Last but not least, students also need to see the relevance in their syllabus. So you have to make real life connections with what they learn in class. Students need to understand how they can apply their syllabus outside of the classroom. It's important to let the students make their own connections and learn from them.
Oh, I see. Based on that, novice teachers should take note of classroom management and not blame it 100% on the students. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. It takes a while, of course. Novice teachers should definitely take their time as this is their first time in such an environment.
Right. That was quite an interesting insight from Miss Amber, right? We thank you for your input. Stay safe and have a good day or night, Miss Amber. Bye. See you.
Thank you for having me again. Good luck to everyone in the studio.
That was a long run. I'm pretty sure the audience are waiting for our next slot, which is our last slot for today. But before that, let's have a break. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned.
Use Listerine daily for a fresher and cleaner mouth.
We are back with our last slot for today. Do you remember last week we are given a special task to do some research on school management issue for our last slot?
Yes. So today, we, the ZSZ, will share with you guys about school management issues, research and explained by yours truly, us. First off, we have Surah's finding.
Me? Okay, fine. Here goes nothing. So, one of the school management issue that I found is handling student discipline. Okay, discipline in general terms is defined as to teach or teaching. Discipline is used to curb activity that disrupts the educational process within the school setting. Before we understand or before we go further about it, we have to understand on why these students acted out. Okay, the first one would be they are trying to seek attention from peers or the teachers to receive a response or affirmative from them. Even though it might be negative, but at least an attention. So next would be poor self-esteem. Oh, it could have been a dysfunctional home life, including domestic abuse. Like they're trying to, like they are crying out for help and be seeking further investigation into why this is happening. And the last one could be physical or mental problems. So in student discipline issue, there are many examples of it. So I will just name a few of it. One of them is bullying. It can be mentally, it can be physically, it can also be from carelessness or irresponsibility, like vandalism or not carrying their stuff, like textbook kind of thing. And the last one that I can remember is misbehavior, like back talk, failure to submit work, skipping class, do not cooperate with not with other students. Okay, so with that, my suggestions of remedies will be student conference, like one-to-one talk, informal manner. Like this way, you can relax the students and get him or her to talk about the problem. The next one would be student parent conference. Okay, involving parents would help in knowing more about their children problem, and hopefully by this it could help us in understand the reason for the students acting out. The last one is to create a positive teacher-student relationship and promote positive student-student relationship. This way, it can build trust and respect towards each other and they will be feeling safe and respected in a school environment. So the second school management issue would be managing effective communication. Effective communication is a two-way process, sending the right message and to the right person. Okay, what is the importance of this effective communication? First of all, it helps us to understand a person or situation in a better way. It also helps to resolve problems from both points of view when our message is misunderstood. And the last one would be to help in connecting well with colleagues, teachers, or parents. There are 7 C's in effective communication. The first one would be completeness. It means that the message should be complete. The second one is consciousness. It is like to convey the message in least possible words. And then we have considerations, which is stepping into the shoes of others. Next one is clarity. I mean, emphasizing on a specific goal one at a time. And then we have concreteness, which is being particular than fuzzy. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is courtesy, like respect the receiver. And the last one would be correctness. Like you have to convey a correct information. All right. In effective communication, there will be barriers. Okay. So one of them would be emotional barriers, physical disabilities, language difference, and also difference in viewpoint and perception. So after my research, I found a few strategies to overcome this barrier. First of all is to create a safe learning environment with supportive relationship. The second one is to use body language. The third one is you have to practice active listening, because active listening involves listening carefully to what your students say, checking that if you understand what they are saying, or building the ideas with them and challenging or questioning them. The last one would be feedback. Okay, it doesn't matter negative or positive, because both will help in improving one's confidence and behavior if being used correctly. Yeah, I think that is all about my research about this issue.
Surah, that is indeed relatable and understandable. So, dear future teachers, I hope you take note of that to help you in the future, okay? Next up, we have Zatis. She called me last night to ask about this, and I am more than pleased and happy to hear about it now.
Yeah, okay, whatever. All right. I did my best though for this one. So let's go. Okay. Well, for me, school management issue can be seen from two sides: teacher-student and teacher-teacher, or administrator-teacher. So first, let's get into the teacher-student side, which is technology in classroom. Especially during the pandemic, teachers do not know the importance of using technology in classroom. This is due to teachers or old teachers have close to none exposure of technology in classrooms. Not many schools have the infrastructure or facilities that can accommodate technology in their classroom. That is why teachers should know why using technology in classroom is important. First, it provides instant access to knowledge. With a simple Google search, students can find tons of information online, but it can be overwhelming. At this point, the teacher can provide for their students with guidance to find the right sources and teach them how to assess the quality of the information that they found online. Next, by using technology, this can encourage individual learning among students. As we all know, each person is different in their own way. Therefore, each person processes information differently. We want the students to be comfortable and learn on their own will, and by using technology, students can learn at their own speed. Go back to lessons and get online instructions to support the learning process. Not to mention, going out of our way to use technology can increase students' interest in subject, and because of this, it can improve their knowledge retention. Students who are highly interested in things that they are studying are more likely to retain their knowledge. Finally, it can help prepare students for the future. Why, you ask? Because technology is everywhere. Students have to know how to complete projects using technology as in their future jobs. Technology skills will be required. Early exposition in the classroom can prepare students to be responsible digital citizens. Now that begs the question, how can you, the teacher, integrate technology in the classroom? Well, first through PowerPoint and games. PowerPoint presentations can be used to introduce a classroom concept while providing the opportunity for engagement, along with the use of graphics and bulleted information. Links to videos that accompany the ideas presented in the PowerPoint can be embedded within the slides. Educational apps in the classroom like Kahoot can be used to review information after a lesson or unit. This allows for whole class participation from students who may usually be reluctant to participate in class. Next, posting homework assignments online via learning platforms like Blackboard, Brightspace, and Moodle is one way many teachers can begin to integrate technology in the classroom. This is because most websites or applications are accessible, which can increase student engagement and help students become more organized. With online homework, what comes next is the online grading system. It is a key element in education that helps teachers, administrators, parents, and students recognize a student's strengths and areas for improvement. Online grading systems such as PowerSchool open and facilitate lines of communication where teachers can post grades, analyze students' attendance patterns, and manage transcript data. Last but not least, for schools that are fortunate enough to have modern infrastructure or facilities, they can use the classroom tablets. Technology can allow teachers to implement differentiation throughout instruction. Students can work at their own pace during assignments, and teachers have the opportunity for one-on-one instruction. Okay, so we have talked about the student-teacher management. Now let's go to the teacher-teacher or administrator-teacher in school management, which is providing school supervision. It was designed to improve instruction by working with the people who are working with the students. To make this simple, it is similar to how a novice teacher would receive a supervisor or guidance from an experienced teacher. And so there are four main functions of supervision, as we can see here from four different parts. First, from the administrative part, they are the ones who provide information about policy and procedures. They also act as a communication channel, carries authority for making certain policy and procedures. Next, supervision engages the worker in examination of practice, knowledge, skills, value, and attitudinal issues in educational. Through this examination of work, the worker can improve his or her ability to do the job effectively. Then, from the support of their co-workers or other teachers, they can receive support to reduce their accumulated stress that can interfere with learning. Lastly, we have evaluation. Teachers are evaluated in order to provide direction and support for ongoing development and learning, and also helps ensure quality and accountability of services. The supervisor is required to establish expected performance standards and state methods that will be used to evaluate progress. So then, what are the types of school supervision? Well, there are three types of school supervision: laissez-faire type, coercive type, and democratic type. We first start with laissez-faire. It utilizes inspectorial supervisory methods unaided by any objective control, or in other words, full freedom is given to workers to do their jobs, and the teachers are encouraged to solve their problems themselves. This type of supervision is known as an independent supervision. Next, the coercive type. Well, this one, they're kind of the one who's rather follow the leader type of situation. You have to follow what the supervisor has given to you and do it. It is the exact opposite of laissez-faire. The supervisor visits the teachers in order to observe them. So the teachers acquire ready-made procedure or standard prescribed by the supervisors. I don't know whether there are teachers like this anymore, but this type of supervision uses force on the other teachers. So let's hope that this type of supervision is no longer used. Then the third and final type of supervision is democratic. So the supervisor in this type of supervision acts according to the mutual consent and discussion, or in other words, he consults subordinates in the process of decision making. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are interested in what I just said right now.
Wow, no wonder Zurin is waiting for Zati's research. That is an informative explanation, and even myself is taking notes about it. So next, we have our one and only Zurin to share about hers. Anytime from now.
All right. So this is the last one, we promise. The issue that I will be explaining about are managing after school programs and dealing with parents groups. So for the first one, managing after school programs, after school programs are usually conducted after school session. So these programs are community driven, expanded learning opportunities that support developmentally appropriate cognitive, social, physical, and emotional outcomes. After school programs actually offers a balanced program of academic support, arts, cultural enrichment, and not to mention recreation and nutrition. Now, before we get into what are the challenges teachers faced in managing after school programs, we need to know why after school programs are important. So it is very important as they offer an array of activities and programs that give students many opportunities for growth and learning that they might not find elsewhere. So after school programs offer kids the opportunity to activities such as painting, drawing, performing in a dramatic production, play music, participate in dance performance, or in sports. Sometimes they get to visit museums. So while most in the after school field would agree in supporting academic skills is an important goal for after school programs, they stress the importance of integrating academic supports into a larger program that also promotes the social, emotional, and physical development of the children they serve. Now, some of the challenges that teachers face in managing after school programs are funding. First one is funding that does not match the school needs because sometimes school lack fundings, right? And teachers have hard time in dealing with it. And then we have teachers' demands to have access in after school program. Well, in fact, that's probably the time where students could spend their time in school without having parents' interruption or supervision. And then we have transportation problems, location limitation, and the most probably challenging of all is students' participations in after school programs. So the solutions that teachers could come up with, they could expose and educate students in fun manner by conducting fun and interactive activities. They could be less strict, and then they could use electronic applications for clubs and associations, and this could implement the usage of tech as they are more engaging. They could also build strong partnerships. This goes to the partnership between parents and teachers. They could also do automated billing, which require less hassle and it's much more quicker. And they have to come up with ideas in increasing students' participation, and they could also get parents or communities to volunteer in conducting this after-school programs. So the last school management that I will be discussing is working effectively with parents group, or as we basically know, PTAs. So PTA is the Parent Teacher Association. This parent group is intended to facilitate parental participation in a school. Now, we know that there's PTA, right? But there's also PTO. Now, the difference between PTA and PTO is that PTO generally consists of a board. They have roles including president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And they include in various specialty positions such as hospitality or programs. And the board typically governs the PTO by creating and voting on meeting dates, general meetings, and programs. But PTA, they are more active in a role in developing programs, advocacy, and training. PTA operates at the school building, district, state, and national levels and works on policy to better support for the children. Now, some of the roles of the PTA is that they are to build strong working relationships among parents, teachers, schools, and of course, in support of the students. They are also to provide a powerful mediating function, providing a neutral forum for resolving conflicts that sometimes occur in schools around controversial issues, such as bullying. So parents and teachers could come up with a meeting and discuss about this conflict. Now, some of the common challenges that teachers deal with PTA is managing broad range of emotions. This is because due to the lack of shared understanding, and sometimes parents bring forward their mission by having the loudest voice win, and sometimes parents are neglected to attend PTA meeting, and teachers also having a hard time reaching this busy and occupied parents. So teachers are unable to reach the parents because they don't give them the chance to, and moreover creating a meaningful partnerships between teacher and parents. Okay, this is because both parents and teachers, they both face challenges in their respective roles. So what can teachers and parents do in dealing with these challenges is that firstly, they could start by assuming best intentions and begin conversations with empathy. So parents could assume that teachers have the best hope for their children, and this will hence build trusted relationship. Next, teachers could urge more cohesive understanding on teachers' role. So these two sides should share each other's role, change opinions, and that way they could reach more utmost understanding, right? And the third one, they could schedule preferred time for PTA meetings. So what they could do is they could sit down and discuss for the most convenient time for both parents and teachers. And last one is to increase parents' involvement and volunteerism. So teachers could encourage parents to stay on top of what's happening at the school and to connect with other parents and school leaders. So yeah, that would be all on managing effective relationship with the PTA, as well as managing after school programs for me.
As expected of Zurin, brief yet very informative. Please do take note, yeah? It could help you in the future. So I think that is all we could share for our final slot.
With that, we will end our talk show for today. But as we have mentioned earlier, we have an after-show trivia after this. So please do join our after-show trivia. Link is in the caption below.
Yes, the more the merrier. We also prepared gifts for our 3 winners for the trivia. So make sure you guys join it, okay?
Yes, don't miss this chance to get Duit Raya from us. That's all for now. Till we meet again, everyone. And remember, we've got the hottest topic,
The hottest trend
And the hottest mind.
and this
is the ZSZ
Talk show. Bye.